The Week in Review with David Davis.
But I expect my leaders to shoulder the responsibility for the actions they take. Yesterday, he did the opposite of that. So I'll remind him of a quotation altogether too familiar to him of Leo Amery to Neville Chamberlain. You have sat there too long for all the good you have done. In the name of God, go.
That was me 6 months ago, almost to the week, talking about the need for the Prime Minister to go. Why did I do it then? Well, because I could see it was obvious then, I'm afraid, that many of the characteristics that the Prime Minister brought to his leadership and to his attitude to integrity in office, they were already very clear, already very obvious. And it was clear that they were going to gradually paralyse the government over time. Now, at the time, of course, I expected to make a lot of opponents, almost a lot of enemies, really, because the people hadn't thought it all through. And that happened. But over the course of the subsequent 6 months, events and issue after issue persuaded more and more of my colleagues that original call was right. Even people who had been ultra-loyalists to Boris only a week ago were saying, that was right, we have to face up to this, we have to deal with this. And so what happened is it came to a climax yesterday after the Chris Pincher affair, in which the Prime Minister, he made a wrong decision. That of itself wasn't fatal, but they appeared to be trying to not withdraw the whip from Pincher, even though they had withdrawn the whip from Neil Farish only a couple of weeks ago for what was frankly a less serious offence. And so what that led to was yesterday's Prime Minister's questions, in which a number of people, I was the last person on our side to speak, but a number of people raised their concerns and effectively, either directly or indirectly, called on the Prime Minister to go. And then I said this.
Today I ask him to do the honourable thing, to put the interests of the nation before his own interests, and before, in his own words, it does become impossible for government to do its job.
The truth of the matter is that from the beginning of this week, with the Chris Pincher affair, the Parliamentary Party had already made up its mind. It was plain that we were going to have a new committee of the 22 and we're going to have a new confidence vote next Tuesday. And in that, Boris would have been defeated. So I suspect partly a result of that, the knowledge that the government was on borrowed time, led to a series of resignations. Rishi Sunak, Sajid Javid, and a total of over 50 officers of the government of one sort or another resigned. And indeed, today, even people who had been appointed yesterday were resigning. So it was obvious that Boris could not keep government going. What I said in the Prime Minister's questions, that you should go before the process of government becomes impossible to maintain. Well, the process of government became impossible to maintain, and he resigned as a result today. I'm a big believer in social mobility. It's what I care about almost more than anything else in our society. I was lucky. I had plenty of opportunities. Now, this week, I visited the Michaela Community School and met with Catherine Birbal Singh, some have called the Tiger Head Mistress. She's certainly a fierce lady in many ways. She controls her school very tightly to get the sort of outcomes that that she wants to achieve, and we can admire, frankly. The school focuses on consistency and discipline to get the best out of their pupils. Birbal Singh also heads up the Social Mobility Commission. Her first report was out last week, and it reinforced what I always knew, and that is that social mobility in this country has taken a nosedive since the 1970s. Well, why is that? Well, probably a number of reasons why it's happened. One of the big ones is that in my day, 1 in 5 youngsters could go to grammar schools, working class kids. And that meant they could end up going to Oxford, Cambridge, other universities, or going straight out into professional careers and so on. How did they do that? Well, of course, there was the 11 plus and they selected the brightest kids and so on. But then on top of that, they created a load of pseudo institutions and traditions almost that mirrored a good public school. At my school, they had a Latin song and a Latin motto, and we took our traditions very seriously. And as a result, we got good results. I think at the time it was the 7th or 8th best school in the country. In a similar sort of way, Michaela's school is imposing its own sorts of institutions, its own techniques, its own methods, its own habits. So the youngsters, the young people who go there, learn good habits, learn good approaches, learn things like gratitude and work rate and the need for a work ethic, and the importance of silence and discipline and all that. And of course, they deliver fantastic results. The children are not selected. They're all skill classes, if you like, all intellectual classes. But they come out at the end really, really well educated. Many aspects of science and technology have fantastically good benefits, but also a dangerous side to them. Genetics, gene technology is one such. In 2018, a Chinese scientist, I hope I pronounced this right, He Jiankui, developed the first genetically modified human beings, genetically engineered human beings. They did this in secret. It was unethical. And now the lifelong care of those 3 children is an issue for the Chinese state. So on one side, you can have terribly bad things done by unethical scientists. But on the other side, gene therapy is a fabulously powerful tool for dealing with certain types of disease. I've said before on this channel, I've got a grandchild, Chloe, who is basically she's intellectually disadvantaged. She can just about speak, got lots of other problems, all as a result of a single base pair, if you like, one letter wrong in the entire alphabet of her genes. And so it's a problem for life, for her life, but also for her mother's life. Now, we are getting close to the stage where we can modify genes. We do this by packaging up a new perfect gene, if you like, perfect piece of DNA, to replace the faulty DNA that's already there. And we get it into people's bodies by using viruses. Adenoviruses are a typical category. The potential to help young people in particular, to treat all sorts of things, from cancer to genetic diseases like Duchenne's muscular dystrophy and SYNGAP1, the disease Chloe suffers from, is fantastic. And we are right on the brink of being able to do something about this. Now, we need to be careful about it. There are downsides even with that treatment mechanism, but they're understood. You know, you've got to control dosages and such things. So if it's done correctly, if we can design it properly and do it correctly, it could completely transform lives. Change lives is not enough. It can transform lives. Give people, in a way, give people a full, healthy life back. Just while I remember, I put a link on this site today to allow people who want to contribute to the SYNGAP1 charity, Patrick Wild Centre it's called, in Edinburgh, because they're right on the brink of making some huge progress there, and I want to encourage it. Well, this is the end of episode 8, an extraordinary week in politics, but extraordinary week in other ways too. And I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, subscribe, like, share, all the things you know about, and we'll see you next week.